The storm outside had been raging for hours, but nothing compared to the storm inside Ethan Cole's chest as he strode through the marble lobby of Cole Industries, shoulders heavy, mind elsewhere, heart broken in a place he didn't think could break anymore. Grief had a way of haunting him quietly, crawling in during the moment he least expected and striking when he was most vulnerable. It had been 2 years since the accident that took his wife, Clara, from him. 2 years of living inside an echo of the life he once had. Tonight was supposed to be simple. Drop off a forgotten file, sign a final approval, and go home to a silent apartment filled with shadows of memories. But destiny rarely knocks politely. Sometimes it slips something small and unexpected into your path. Something like the faint metallic clinking that ran across the floor behind him, followed by a soft voice calling out. From near the janitor's cart, a voice so gentle and sincere, it sliced straight through the fog inside his mind. If you believe in kindness, second chances, or the unexpected miracles life can bring, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach more hearts. Ethan paused mid-stride, turning slowly, not out of curiosity, but out of instinct. He saw her small, maybe 10 years old, in oversized thrift store sneakers, her hair tied up in a messy ponytail though she'd rushed to get ready, holding something delicately in both hands as though it were a rare artifact. She looked up at him with steady eyes that were wise in a way only hardship could teach. Behind her was the janitor's cart, and beside it stood her father, Miguel. The night janitor, who had worked there longer than Ethan, had been CEO. The man looked embarrassed as though he feared his daughter had overstepped. But the little girl wasn't focused on her father. She was focused on Ethan and what she held. It was a locket. But not just any locket, her locket. Clara's. The world stopped. Not slowed, stopped. As though time itself hesitated to breathe. Ethan's throat tightened, chest constricting, pulse thundering in his ears. He had lost that locket nearly a year ago, believing it had slipped into a taxi or fallen somewhere between meetings. He had torn his penthouse apart looking for it. He had searched drawers, pockets, old jacket linings, even the vents. The locket was the only physical thing Clara always kept close, a small golden heart with a tiny engraving inside that no one else knew about. He had given up ever finding it again. Yet here it was. The girl held it with such care, as though she understood it meant something. And in her small hands, under the bright lights of the lobby, it glowed faintly like a memory coming back to life. Ethan felt his legs weaken. He forced himself to approach slowly, as though getting too close might make the moment vanish. The girl explained in a soft and slightly shy tone that she had found it weeks ago wedged behind one of the filing cabinets near the executive lounge. Her father had told her it probably belonged to someone important. She had been cleaning the hallway tonight when she saw Ethan walk past, and somehow she just knew it belonged to him. She said she didn't know why she felt it, only that she had to return it. Ethan listened, barely breathing, barely standing. This little girl, who lived a life worlds apart from his, had unknowingly carried a missing piece of his heart, and now she was giving it back. He thanked her, though words felt too small, and she smiled with a warmth that held no expectation. Her father gently placed a hand on her shoulder, apologizing for the interruption, but Ethan shook his head. He told them it was no interruption. It was a miracle. Miguel seemed surprised that the powerful, guarded CEO would say such a thing. Most executives barely noticed him. Some didn't even see him. But Ethan wasn't seeing the janitor, or the cart, or the old shoes, or the worn uniform. He was seeing a father who brought his daughter to work because he couldn't afford childcare. A man doing his best, and a little girl with kindness bigger than the world around her. He looked down at the locket again, fingers trembling as he opened it. Inside was the same tiny picture of Clara laughing in the garden the day he proposed, and etched beside it, barely visible unless tilted toward the light, were the words he had written long ago for my forever. His breath shuddered. Clara felt close again, closer than she had in months. Time hadn't healed him. Work hadn't distracted him. Money hadn't filled the emptiness. But this simple act of honesty and innocence from a janitor's daughter cracked open something he had buried too deeply, the belief that life still held small miracles. Ethan didn't want to rush away. Instead, he asked them about their evening, why she was here so late, and what her dreams were. The girl, her name was Lila, spoke with a bright spark about wanting to become an artist, though she didn't have much for supplies. She liked drawing with whatever scraps she found, broken pencils, the backs of receipts, cardboard sheets from the recycling bins. Her father apologized again, explaining that things had been hard since his wife passed away years ago, and raising a daughter alone on a janitor's salary meant sacrifices. But he never complained. He was grateful to have work, grateful to have Lila. Ethan saw something familiar in that: two fathers who had lost someone they loved and were navigating life one difficult day at a time. He felt compelled to do something, but he stayed quiet for the moment. He didn't want to come across as a savior or make them feel indebted. Instead, he thanked Layla again and told her she had returned something priceless to him. She grinned shyly, said she was happy she could help, and returned to her father's side. Ethan watched them walk away, pushing the cart down the quiet hallway, the wheels squeaking slightly on the polished tiles. That night, as he stood alone in his office holding the locket, Ethan felt something shift. A softening, a reminder. A whisper of Clara's voice telling him that grief didn't mean he had to stop living. Maybe this was her way of nudging him forward. Over the next few days, Ethan found himself thinking about Layla more than expected. Not out of obligation, but out of a genuine warmth he hadn't felt in a long time. He passed by the janitor's wing intentionally, making sure to greet them, and each time Layla brightened as though his presence made the night a little less ordinary. One evening, he saw her sitting cross-legged in a small corner near her father's cart, sketching quietly while waiting for him to finish his shift. Her drawing was surprisingly detailed, capturing the building's grand staircase with soft shading and perspective beyond her years. She covered it partially when she noticed him watching, embarrassed as though expecting criticism. But Ethan knelt down, told her it was beautiful, and asked if she had ever taken art classes. She shook her head and said they were expensive. She learned from books in the public library and YouTube videos when they had enough mobile data at the end of the month. Ethan felt something tighten inside, not pity, but admiration. Layla wasn't waiting for the world to give her opportunity. She was building it with whatever scraps she had. That night, after he left the building, Ethan drove to the art store across town and bought sketchbooks, colored pencils, charcoal sets, watercolors, and high-quality brushes. He packed them into a simple tote bag, not wanting it to look extravagant or overwhelming, and left it by Miguel's cart with a note that simply read, "For the artist, keep drawing." He didn't sign his name. He didn't want them to feel pressured or indebted. But the next night, when he came in for another late meeting, he saw Layla wait near the lobby with wide eyes and trembling hands clasped around the tote bag. Miguel stood behind her, touched and overwhelmed. Layla ran to Ethan and hugged him tightly, something she had never done before, thanking him in a voice cracking between joy and disbelief. Miguel apologized again for her boldness, but Ethan told him it was okay, that sometimes a hug was the most honest form of gratitude. In the weeks that followed, their quiet bond deepened. Ethan found reasons to walk by during the night shifts, sometimes bringing leftover pastries from meetings for Layla, sometimes just checking in. Layla began drawing him small sketches, flowers, sunsets, tiny portraits of people she saw in the building. Miguel often apologized, explaining that he didn't want Ethan to feel obligated, but Ethan reassured him it was never a burden. Somewhere along the way, those simple interactions became the brightest parts of his week. One night, the building lost power due to a transformer failure. Emergency lights flickered on, casting eerie shadows across the halls. Layla grew frightened of the darkness, clinging to her father's sleeve. Ethan arrived moments later, offering to stay with them until the backup generators kicked in. The three of them sat together in the executive lounge, illuminated only by soft emergency lights, and Ethan told Layla about Clara, the way she used to sing while painting, the way her laughter filled rooms, the way she believed art could heal people. Layla listened with wide eyes and whispered that maybe Clara sent the locket to her so she could return it, so Ethan wouldn't forget to keep living. The innocence of her words nearly broke him, but also stitched his heart in a place he didn't know could be mended. As time passed, Ethan realized that his grief was slowly transforming. It didn't disappear, grief never truly does, but it began sharing space with something else, hope. And Layla, in her small and unassuming way, was part of that healing. Weeks turned into months, and one day, Ethan asked Miguel if he would consider taking a position on the day staff with better pay and stability. Miguel was stunned but deeply grateful. Layla was even happier because it meant she wouldn't have to stay alone late at night anymore. Ethan arranged a small scholarship for her at a community art program quietly, discreetly, without making a spectacle of it. He just wanted her to have the chance she deserved. And she thrived. Her drawings became more refined, more expressive, more courageous. She told Ethan she wanted to make people feel the way he felt when she returned his Locket scene, understood, remembered. Months later, during a company charity night, Layla's artwork was displayed as part of the children's showcase. One of her pieces caught Ethan's breath, a sketch of a woman standing in a sunlit garden, laughing softly, holding a locket. It was Clara. Layla had drawn her using only Ethan's descriptions and tiny glimpses from the locket's miniature photo. It was breathtaking. Ethan felt tears rise, something he hadn't felt in public since Clara's funeral. But these weren't tears of grief. They were tears of healing, tears of gratitude, tears of something new beginning. He realized then that the locket returning to him had not been a coincidence. It had been a turning point, a bridge between the love he lost and the love he could still give to the world. If this story has touched your heart in any way, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps keep meaningful stories alive. Before the ending, take a moment to comment what part touched you the most. And in the end, Ethan stood beside Miguel and Lila as the crowd applauded her artwork, feeling something he hadn't felt in years, a sense of purpose, of connection, of family. Not a replacement for what he lost, but a reminder that love does. End. It simply finds new paths, new hands, new hearts to live in. The locket lay warm against his chest that night, and for the first time since Clara's passing, Ethan didn't feel alone. He felt guided. He felt grateful. He felt alive. And all because a little girl whispered, "You dropped this, sir," and chose kindness in a world that often forgets how powerful it can be.